He'll be back. It was an honor and a joy for me to travel to Tarrytown, New York last Sunday to represent my colleagues and our community as Rabbi Mitzner received his smicha, his rabbinic ordination from the Pluralistic Rabbinical Seminary. As you probably know, Avi began his 2-year program with more experience and knowledge than most rabbinical students do. But as I'm sure Avi's teachers explained to him, no matter how much you learn during rabbinical school, it's never enough to prepare you for the reality, the everyday reality of being a rabbi. And why is that? Not because on-the-job experience is necessary to fill in the gaps of your knowledge, but because becoming a rabbi means joining an exclusive club that deliberately withholds the mystical secrets of the rabbinate passed down to us from our teacher Moses, from everyone else. That is, of course, until the moment of ordination when they were finally revealed to us as the finishing touches of our studies. The passing of this secret knowledge is what I, along with Avi's family and Jack Jacobson, witnessed last Sunday as Avi stood in the presence of a Beit Din, a rabbinic panel of 3. Each, in turn, whispered sweet nothings into Avi's ear as they hid him from view underneath of their talit, ensuring that although we could not see Avi's face, we could see the mouths of these rabbis moving, a reminder to all of us, except for me, of course, what it is that we will never know. But today, Avi, your colleagues and I have decided that for the good of our community, and indeed for the betterment of the Jewish people, it is time to end this exclusive, hierarchical, and antiquated practice by repeating these same secrets to you that you heard last Sunday out loud for everyone to hear. So now I'd like to invite you up, Rabbi Mitzner, to join us on the bima, and I'd like to invite my colleagues to take their places to my right and to my left, and you'll pass among us as we reordain you, not just as a rabbi, teacher, and preacher of the people Israel, but of our family of Shearith Israel. So let's spread out just a little bit. I'm going to start you over here.
Come, Rabbi, come. When someone asks you a question about Jewish law or practice or Israel or really anything, they love it when you say that Judaism has many, many answers, and then go on to list all of them with full citations from Tanakh, Talmud codes, and responsa literature. And then when that person says, no, I actually just want to know what you think, you should insist it's not about you, but about their personal journey, and just be really vague and opaque about your own beliefs. Your personal identity and values are not relevant to your rabbinic work, so it's best to keep people guessing, which is good, because you've never let on to anybody here how passionate you are about Israel, Torah, or Scotch.
Always insist that people give you the proper kavod, the honor, by calling you Rabbi Mitzner and never Avi, and certainly never Rabbi Avi. The only people who can call you Avi, aside from your family members, are people who know you really well, by which I mean most of us, or people who really like you, by which I mean all of us. Which is to say, after today, don't expect any of us to call you Rabbi Mitzner ever again.
As a rabbi, it's very important to set boundaries, not just about how people refer to you, but also about how and when they can reach you. So make sure not to include your contact info in the directory, and don't give out your cell phone number to anyone, and never answer the phone when someone calls you when you're walking into a movie theater with your family, or during dinner, or in the middle of the night, or while on vacation. And never text people back late at night and give away the fact that you're actually still working then. Oh wait, sorry. Just forget all of those instructions and be on call and reachable 24/7, because everyone expects that anyway.
Rabbis have long hours and demanding schedules. Sometimes it's hard to find time to eat lunch. Maintaining your eating schedule, as I've always taught you, is very important for your ongoing health and energy so that you can serve others, keeping in mind the famous proverb, remember to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others, etc., etc. You already know about the candy supply in Teresa's office, but you don't have a sweet tooth, which is great because more for us, except I just told everyone here about it. But make sure to keep lots of savory snacks at hand because you're not yourself when you're hungry.
Keep one copy of the Rabbi's Manual for Life Cycle Events in your office and then keep another copy in your car. And if you ever accidentally take the copy from your office out of the building and move it to your car, please remember to put it back. Because otherwise, when I leave mine in my car and I go into your office to steal yours, which I do at least once a week, I won't be able to do that, as I have already done without your knowledge, at least 3 or 4 times this month.
Remember to write out every word of Torah you plan to teach. Whether it's Torah study, a class you're teaching during the week, a Friday night or Shabbat morning sermon, a Devar Torah at a meeting or event, a eulogy at a funeral, or remarks at a shiva, a charge to a bride and groom under the chuppah, or any other random request you get to impart wisdom, it should all be carefully scripted, and you should never vamp, because vamping makes every service or event or class longer, and as a rabbi, you don't have any other responsibilities but teaching Torah. So you should have plenty of time to prepare every single word in advance and never have to improvise on your feet based on over 20 years of experience already doing so.
There's more.
There's more.
But that was the end of the funny stuff. Okay, now
We're getting
this is the real
serious.
stuff.
Now we're getting
Okay.
serious.
For many, did everybody see his face? For many years, you have already been and now will continue to be one of the Klei Kodesh that serves this sacred congregation. This designation carries with it a reminder that we are only a container to the radiant sparks we're lucky enough to hold in all of life's most precarious and joyful moments. Just like we should never travel more than 4 amot without acknowledging God's presence, never let 5 minutes pass without grounding yourself firmly within this kavanah. May you always hold on to your warmth, your ease, and your humility that bring you so naturally to this calling.
On this Shabbat Hanukkah, I am reminded of one of the most important tasks of a rabbi is not to be the candle that represents the flame of Jewish life, but the shamash that ignites it. That our value is not measured by how we enlighten others, but in how successful we are in helping them to believe in their own light.
In Psalm 27, which we recite during the High Holy Day season, the psalmist yearns, Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai, that he may dwell in the house of Adonai all the days of his life, that he be permitted to enter God's sanctuary and behold God's beauty. May you continue to be blessed daily and weekly with the gift of dwelling in this house of Adonai, Shearith Israel, of beholding the beauty of this Beck sanctuary, our Aaron family main sanctuary, and our Fonberg family chapel, and of sharing sacred community with the beautiful souls of our congregants who love and respect you so much as their teacher and friend.
One last round.
Are you dizzy yet? Our tradition tells us of a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord. Always remember, Rabbi Mitzner, that you bring powerful wisdom to your congregation, not just through words of Torah, but through melodies that nourish, sustain, and ignite the Jewish soul. May your gift of music continue to be a connective and inspiring force as you build moments of comfort, celebration, and prayer.
Keep in mind the sage advice of Rabbi Yoshua ben Parachia, Aseh lecha rav ukneh lecha chaver, that the one who seeks a rabbi also gains a lifelong companion. What makes you a wonderful teacher, Avi, is not just the Torah you have acquired or the skills that you have learned, but the warmth that you radiate in every joyful encounter, the genuine empathy you display for those in pain, and the obligations that you take on with such selflessness and humility to be there for anyone, anytime, any place. In the words of a once and future sage and priest of the Jewish people, you may now be a rabbi, but first and foremost, you have been and always shall be our friend.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless and protect you, granting you a wise heart, candor in speech, the courage to act decisively, and the strength to respond to every challenge with dignity. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God cause God's grace to shine upon you and God's light to shine upon you, reinforcing the wellspring of compassion that allows you to fulfill your role as a shepherd of our community and the Jewish people. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's countenance to you and strengthen you as a disciple of Aharon HaKohen, Aaron the priest, inspiring you to love peace and pursue peace, to love all people and draw them closer to God's Torah. Amen.
Amen.
Bring it in here. Group hug. So Avi, Rabbi Mitzner, we have a little gift for you as you begin this next stage of your journey as a teacher in the Jewish people. Well, we think teachers ought to have some books, some additional books. And since you're Rav Avraham, we thought maybe it would be a good idea to provide you with some books from another Rav Avraham of distinguished memory and blessing, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, one of the great theologians and teachers of our people from the 20th century, a passionate advocate for social justice, an incredible light as an educator at the Jewish Theological Seminary and for the Jewish world. So we want to present you here, come down and take a look, with 14 volumes from Heschel's collection that can help grow your rabbinic library, which we know will only continue to grow in the years ahead. May this Torah inspire you and be a great source of nourishment to your soul, and then be a nourishment to all of our souls as you share it with us going forward. Amen. Thank you.
Wow. Shabbat shalom, everybody. You may know this already, but rabbis like to talk. In fact, many of them, exhibiting no conception of time, like to drone on and on. So it should have been no surprise to me when just prior to my ordination, I received the gift of a watch from some very dear friends. As imitation is the highest form of flattery, I will do something now that I've seen Rabbi Sunshine do on many occasions before he speaks. I will remove my watch, place it down here in front of me on the reader's table where I can see it. Do you know what it means when a rabbi does that?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. This week's Parsha Vayeshev begins what is known to us as the Joseph Saga, which continues all the way through the end of the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis. It is a story that encompasses 4 parshiot, almost without interruption. That is, except for one curious episode that comprised our Torah reading this morning. The rabbis love to anachronistically claim that our pre-Sinaitic ancestors observed all the laws of the Torah even prior to its revelation. There's no real evidence for this, except for one exception, and that is of the Levirate marriage. In discussing this law, which is something quite foreign to our modern sensibilities, we are told in Deuteronomy, when brothers dwell together and when one of them dies and leaves no offspring, the wife of the deceased shall not become that of another party outside of the family. Her husband's brother shall unite with her. He shall take her as a wife and perform the levir's duty. The first child that she bears shall be accounted to the dead brother, that his name not be blotted out in Israel. In this morning's parsha, we read that Yehudah marries off his son Er to a woman named Tamar. Er dies, and Yehudah has, as his next son, Onan, perform his levirate duties by marrying Tamar. Onan subsequently dies as well, and Yehudah does not give his third son, Shelah, to Tamar, presumably because he was still too young. So from this story, we learn that actually this law of the levirate marriage was obeyed even prior to the giving of the Torah. And we also know that forms of this practice were observed by other ancient civilizations as well. What is notable to me about this law is that it requires the performer to subjugate his own ego to a tremendous extent. Think about it. The whole purpose, as we are told, is that his brother's name, not his own name, his brother's name, not be blotted out in Israel. To achieve this goal, he must marry his deceased wife's brother, who he may or may not even like. The deceased brother, to achieve this goal, he must marry his deceased brother's wife. Very complicated there. Who he may or may not even like. He must support her, have a child with her, raise that child, support that child, but that child bears not his name, but that of his deceased brother. Possibly because subduing one's own ego to build up someone else's name is such a difficult thing to do. The Torah actually gives you an out for this mitzvah, a way to legally not perform it. But the Jewish ideal is spelled out in Pirkei Avot, chapter 4, Mishnah 1, which reads, "Who is honored? One who honors his fellow human beings." This is a tough thing to do, to give honor to others when it might come even at your own expense. But the Mishnah tells us that in doing so, you paradoxically bring honor to yourself. This describes for me the beauty of my colleagues, Rabbis Sunshine, Wallach, and Rothman, and Chazan Zrebker. Over a period of many years, they have built me up, allowed me to grow in my position, allowed me to work on the constituent parts of what it means to be a rabbi, even when that may have meant that they were stepping back a little in order to allow me to move forward. I want to share just a few examples, and in doing so, I'll be addressing my colleagues in reverse alphabetical order. When Shira was developing her Renew High Holidays service, she came to me and asked me to partner with her. At first, I was content being there in a supporting role, helping her lead the service. But she constantly encouraged me to take a more equal role, to do more of the singing, to offer more of the kavanot. before the prayers. It took me a little while. It really wasn't until the last 2 or 3 years, but I have finally started to do so and to share equally with her in this service. Many years ago, when Yitzhak was starting his journey on these themed musical Kabbalat Shabbat services that have become so popular, he invited me to help him create some of them and to choose tunes, to put the words of our prayers to those songs, allowing me to imprint on these services my creativity. Almost immediately, when Ari arrived at Shearith, he put me in the regular rotation of giving sermons and teaching Torah study, and even giving me the opportunity to give sermons on the high holidays. I had been doing most of these things for many years prior, but sporadically, as a fill-in when needed. Being part of this regular rotation allowed me to work on some of the more visible skills necessary for a rabbi. And in June of 2021, we were in Israel in this very short little period of time when Israel opened up to tourists after the letting up of the original strain of COVID and before the onset of the Delta strain, when they once again closed their borders. We were there with some very dear friends celebrating the bat mitzvah of their daughter. One day while in Israel, I received a text from Adam saying something to the effect of, "I saw this program online, and I know some of the people involved. And if they're involved, it's worth your looking into it." And that is how I found the program through which I achieved ordination. I don't want to minimize this journey that I've been on in the Pluralistic Rabbinical Seminary. It has been a very fulfilling and rewarding experience. I was able to study online with fellow students from Australia, Finland, Canada, and elsewhere in the United States. We got to learn and debate texts together. We listened to each other and gained new perspectives. We also got to learn from great teachers, mostly from the conservative and reform movements, but also some independent rabbis. And the rabbis, too, were from all over the place. And finally, last weekend, we had the privilege of all coming together for ordination in Tarrytown, New York. It has been a wonderful experience. But it really would be difficult for me to overemphasize how much I have learned from working with, watching, listening to, learning and taking advice from these 4 amazing friends and colleagues. They have taught me so much, even if they are still withholding the secret handshake from me. To them, I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude for helping me grow, encouraging me to grow, and letting me grow, even if that meant that they stepped back and either stood next to me or even behind me in the background. I will strive to always do my part to bring them honor in the work that I do here at Shearith Israel. There are really way too many people to thank individually from up here on the bima, but I just want to thank a few special groups of people. Thank you to Sisterhood for giving me the thrill a few nights ago of being called up at an official function for the very first time as Rabbi Avi Mitzner. And of course, for sponsoring today's Kiddush as well. Thank you to the board and the officers of Shearith Israel, and really the board, though, throughout my years of service here. You have always been so very supportive. Thank you to my friends, who were able to be here today, and even those who flew back from Israel yesterday to be here. And also to friends who, while they couldn't make it, reached out to me to offer congratulations. Thank you to my family, who were either in Tarrytown for ordination or are here today. And finally, thank you to my beautiful love, to my Shelley. I am thankful for you and love you every moment of my life. Our service will continue. You're clapping before you know if I'm going to get the page right. Right. On page 184 with the Chatzi Kaddish followed by the Musaf Amidah.